So I saw this tweet from Visegrad on on Twitter. North Korea has put into service its largest military ship to date, the destroyer Cho-hyun. Kim Jung Un stated that North Korea should build 2 military ships comparable to the 5,000-ton destroyer Cho-hyun every year for the next 5 years. Kim also announced plans to deploy another 5,000-ton destroyer Kangkon, and in the future, build strategic ships with a displacement of up to 10,000 tons. North Korea is not playing around anymore. This is not North Korean propaganda. This is real. This is coming from people, journalists, Western journalists, Korean journalists, on the ground, boots on the ground. This is what's actually happening. So we have an article from the Associated Press, who, yes, I know they're a little left-wing, but when it comes to geopolitics, the Associated Press and New York Times is actually pretty good. So right here, let's read this article together. North Korea's Kim claims progress on nuclear-armed navy as new warship is placed into service. So this is coming from Seoul, South Korea. This news. North Korea has commissioned a 5,000-ton destroyer that leader Kim Jong Un touts as a symbol of the country's growing naval and nuclear capabilities, state media reported Wednesday, as Pyongyang seeks to expand its ability to project military power at sea. North Korea's official Korean Central News Agency said Kim told a commissioning ceremony Tuesday at the western port of Nampo that warships such as the Cho-hyun show that the nuclear armament of his navy is progressing as planned. The KCNA said the Cho-hyun was formally placed into service with North Korea's Navy after the ceremony and will be tasked with defending the country's western coast. Since unveiling the ship in April 2025, Kim has portrayed the Cho-hyun as a major step toward expanding his military's operational reach and preemptive strike capabilities. KCNA has said the warship is equipped with a range of systems, including anti-aircraft and anti-ship weapons, as well as nuclear-capable ballistic and cruise missiles. South Korean officials and experts say that the vessel was likely built with Russian assistance amid deepening military ties between the countries, but some analysts have questioned whether it's ready for active service. North Korea has put the Cho-hyun through a series of tests in recent months ahead of its deployment, including launches of what it described as nuclear-capable cruise missiles from the vessel. It has clearly become a thing of the past when our Navy existed as a force for defending the sea off our land, Kim said in a speech at Tuesday's ceremony. It is rising into a full-fledged service equipped with strategic means as the program of equipping the Navy with nuclear weapons is following its planned course unerringly. As years of spurring ballistic missile development, Kim has shifted his focus more towards naval capabilities, including the ongoing construction of a nuclear-powered submarine. Naval capabilities were also a key focus when Kim outlined his 5-year military goals at February's Workers' Party Congress, which included calls for intercontinental ballistic missiles capable of underwater launches. Kim, following a missile test aboard the Cho-hyun in March, claimed that his efforts to arm his navy with nuclear weapons could constitute a radical change in defending our maritime sovereignty, something that we have not achieved for half a century. State media didn't elaborate on what Kim meant, but some analysts say North Korea may be preparing to formally declare a maritime boundary that could encroach on waters controlled by rival South Korea. As inter-Korean tensions worsen, Kim has repeatedly said that he does not recognize the northern limit line in the Western Sea drawn by the U.S.-led UN command at the end of the 1950-53 Korean War. The poorly drawn sea boundary has been the site of several deadly skirmishes in past years. North Korea unveiled in May 2025 a second destroyer in the same class as the Cho-hyun, but it was damaged during a botched launch at the northern port of Cheongjin. Prompting a furious response from Kim, the country later said the ship, named Kangkon, was relaunched in June after repairs, but outside experts have questioned whether it's fully operational. Kim, during Tuesday's speech, said Kangkon will be entering service soon. North Korea has also separate plans to build a larger 10,000-ton destroyer. Since his nuclear diplomacy with U.S. President Donald Trump collapsed in 2019, Kim has accelerated the expansion of his nuclear arsenal and deepened ties with Moscow and Beijing. While maintaining a hard-line stance towards South Korea, he has left the door open to renewed talks with Washington, repeating Pyongyang's demand that the United States drop denuclearization as a precondition for reviving negotiations. Separately, South Korea's military said Wednesday it had taken into custody an unidentified North Korean soldier who crossed the heavily fortified inter-Korean border Tuesday night. The South's Joint Chief of Staff said the soldier expressed an intent to defect and that relevant authorities were investigating the incident. Lots to unpack there. Ultimately, one thing I mentioned on the previous program is that I do believe that Trump's next foreign policy focus will be the Korean Peninsula, because Trump, he wants to be the peacemaker. He wants to be the peacemaking president. He wants to be known as, hey, I brought regional peace to the Middle East, to the Far East, on the Korean Peninsula. I stabilized regions and countries. Oh, there's nobody greater than me. I'm Donald Trump, the peacemaker. That's what he wants to be. And that's a good thing, actually, because we can leverage that ego to have positive developments on the Korean Peninsula. So, as things in Iran and the Middle East wrap up, I do believe that he's going to focus in Korea, as we saw with his talks with Lee Jae-myung at the G7 summit. That being said, what's next? What's next for North Korea? And the thing is, we have to understand that North Korea is not going to get rid of their nukes anytime soon. Their nuclear arsenal, they're not going to give it up anytime soon. And this is obviously a clear development of them, their arms deals, and their military ties with Russia that's helping them develop not only economically, but also the military industry and their military technology, that their ties to Beijing and all the resources that they're getting from Beijing through trade is allowing for them to rapidly grow. Now, I'm not saying that North Korea has become like a powerhouse overnight. You still have millions of people starving. But in a few years, it can be like what China was, where China, before it opened up its economy, millions upon millions of people were starving to death in China. And then they opened their economy in the late 1900s. Now China became the second biggest economy in the world. So one thing you have to understand about East Asians, broadly speaking, is that they have the highest IQs in the world for a reason, and they're hardworking. And so I do believe that Kim Jong-un's focus is not external now. We covered this. He eliminated all goals of reunification with South Korea in the North Korean constitution. That he created a mutual military defense pact with Russia, that if North Korea is the aggressor, Russia won't help. But if North Korea is the defender, then yes, Russia will help. So North Korea is focused inward and increasing their military might, like you showed here. They're increasing their military output, and now they're trying to project military power into the sea and create more destroyers, one every year for the next 5 years. So they're really, really going gung-ho into developing their own economy and their own military. And they have no business. And I don't think Kim Jong-un has any desires to invade South Korea anytime soon. So then what's the next steps? You need to want peace. Like, the tensions are rising constantly. So one thing you have to do is acknowledge North Korea as a separate entity for now with its own national interests, and try to sign a peace treaty so that we're at least at peace. We should want peace. Like, they are not going to give up their nuclear arsenal anytime soon. So they completely cut off all ties with talks with South Korea, but they are open to talking with America. So what Trump has to do is, yes, drop denuclearization, because that's not going to happen anytime soon. Unlike with Iran, they had really no allies in the region. And so America go in and attack their nuclear facilities and attack the Ayatollah and all of their leaders and do what they wanted. If they attack North Korea, we're screwed. Well, South Korea itself is screwed. But then you're gonna really try to risk World War III with Russia and also China to denuclearize Korea? How is that in America's best interest? That's not. And it's gonna be deeply, deeply unpopular. There's gonna be massive casualties. People don't want that, especially on the Korean Peninsula. So you have to move towards peace. And you have to accept that they're going to have a nuclear arsenal in order to have negotiations be at least possible on the Korean Peninsula. So that's just basically what it is. We're just expanding on what we talked about last time. But one thing that South Korea can leverage from this is understanding, hey, look, North Korea is developing at a rapid pace because not only do they have an arms deal and they're doing trade with Russia, they're also getting cheap gas from Russia. Why can't South Korea also do that? South Korea, because Russia still, by all means, is still a neutral force. And so why can't we do trade with Russia and get cheaper gas and have more resources for South Korea to bolster not only the Korean economy, but also the Korean military and its technologies? Like, why can't we? I think we can. I think that's something that South Korea can also leverage. And then, as a result, then Russia can serve as a potential additional mediator between North Korea and South Korea. Because right now, the U.S. is the only mediator right now. But if Russia comes in as also a third party, I do believe that could also ease tensions and possibly create peace on the Korean Peninsula. And so obviously the economic sanctions that South Korea and the U.S. are imposing on North Korea for denuclearization is not working. And so we have to rethink our strategy, which is what Lee Jae-myung said last week, which is good. Rethink your North Korean strategy. Don't be soft. No more sunshine policy bullcrap. We're just going to be nice to North Korea and hopefully they open up their borders and open up their arms. No, they have no interest in doing so with South Korea. So we have to be strong against North Korea, come to the table as a sovereign country as South Korea, but also understand that, yes, we need Trump involved in order to help negotiate peace talks between the two Koreas. And that's what we want. That's what we want. The economic sanctions don't work. Pressure for denuclearization is not working. North Korea is developing regardless. Yeah, we got to move forward. We can't just be stuck in Cold War strategies and talking points. We got to move forward because we don't want to be in a constant state of war. That's not something that we desire as people, as Christians, as citizens. So that's what we need to work towards. And hopefully that can come within the next year. I'm constantly praying for reunification. But first, there needs to be peace between the two Koreas before we even think about reunification.